It may be way too early to be guaranteeing anything, but with that being said, I guarantee you that the A's will win the 2025 American League West title. And I will tell you why I think that on today's show of Locked On A's. This episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com to get started.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I'm your host, Booney. That's right, one name. Episodes will drop Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. That's Vegas time, Oakland time, and yes, Sacramento time, whether you are on your way to work, driving back from work, or listening casually during the day. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since '81. I'm here to bring you a real fan's take, covering everything from Oakland to Sacramento to Las Vegas. This is the place for A's fans to get the latest game breakdowns, team news, and more. This is where the passion of the fans take center stage. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And please hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. We have a great show in store for you today. We are going to get back on schedule and continue our review of the A's 2024 July, where they had the second best record in all of baseball, with the third series of the month and the A's first road trip in July as they play a 3-game set against the Boston Red Sox. That's a little later. There was more news on who the A's are targeting via trade, as we will look at more names, and I will give my top 5 most likely acquisitions via trade the A's will get. First, guarantees in November are not usually the best idea. And considering the A's haven't even made a newsworthy off-season transaction, you may be thinking that I am just talking out of my tail. I tend to enjoy going against the grain, so yes, I am guaranteeing the A's win the American League West in 2025. Now, before you completely tune me out, let me give you some legitimate reasons on why I think so. JJ Bleday was recently on the MLB podcast show on Sirius Radio and made some comments that affirmed what I have been talking about for quite some time, which is the most important part of a team is the actual team chemistry. I am simply going to quote exactly what JJ Bleday said. First, he was asked if there is any adjustments regarding the change of ballparks. He was quoted, "At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where you play. There might be some ballparks where you feel a little more confident than others. It is what it is. You cannot let it affect you. You have to own it, have fun with it, and deal with it, whether you are hitting or playing outfield." He went on to say how important it was to keep the field natural grass versus the turf they were talking about bringing in. Here's what caught my ear, and again, affirming what I have stated on several occasions. He was quoted, quote unquote, "The clubhouse is great. You are not going to have any clubhouse in the league like we do. The camaraderie we have on the field, in the locker room, and on flights. Everything on the field and off the field gels really well. Not only the players, but the families as well. Everyone is really good friends with one another, and that's hard to get. That goes a really long way, especially in these circumstances. Now, winning as a true team in every sense of the word, is something we are all a part of almost on a daily basis. And in order to succeed as a team, the group of individuals, whether it is 2, 3, 4, or whatever amount of people, must understand what the common goal of the team is. More importantly, your teammate wants to see you succeed as much as their own success. Now, that type of feeling just doesn't all of a sudden show up one day. They must first understand you, understand your journey, your grind, and what you are about. The common notion for any team to be successful is that you must have great players or great talent, which is one of the biggest fallacies of life today. Talent is all around us every single day. Someone is talented at something. Baseball is no different than in life. And in order for a team to be successful in life and in baseball, you must find the right talent, the right players to do great things, that wants your success as much as their own. I believe that the A's have that like no other team in sports right now. I mean, look at their roster. It is filled with players that teams didn't think much of to even draft, or players that teams have given up on. The A's do not have one guaranteed contract, not one. Every single player on that roster has an understanding of one another because they are all the same. They have all been given up on, or no one has thought much of them. You think these guys are worried about sell the team, or what ballpark they will be playing in next year, or what is going on off the field? They are trying to survive. They're trying to play one more year, one more game. Nothing is guaranteed to them. In order for them to succeed, the person next to them has to succeed. You may be thinking, well, hey, that's great. They still lost 93 games last year. Yes, they did. And the A's were a young team. And what did they do last year that was so important, which makes me guarantee this? They got better. Every single one of them. They all got better. This led to them having the second best record in all of baseball in the month of July. They were not too shabby in August either, as they went 14-12. The A's got better. Young players are only a valuable asset is if they get better. There is a reason why Bleday said, you are not going to have any clubhouse in the league like we do. The idea that the player we obtain via trade this year is somebody with a big contract that a team doesn't want anything to do with is something that will fit perfectly into the chemistry that we have already created as an organization and as a team. We have gone through some names in the past, and some new rumors have surfaced of new names on that list. And we will go through those names, and I'll give you my top 5 possible signings for the A's this off season. Up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. When I personally look at a sports book, there are two things that are most important to me. Is it easy to deposit? And more importantly, is it easy to withdraw? FanDuel checks both boxes for me. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. I have spoken about some names in the past, about some potential trades the A's may target, and considering free agents are likely not going to sign with the A's, the most sensible path to get players is trading for players that have bad contracts. On the latest episode of MLB Trade Rumors podcast, they talked about the A's potential $100 million payroll and how the A's could spend that money. Out of all the news outlets out there, I believe MLB Trade Rumors is the absolute best. Very accurate, very informative, a great outlet for MLB news. And no, they are not paying me to endorse them. It sure would be nice, though. First and foremost, they emphasize that not knowing what free agents could potentially find their markets disappointing could make this exercise difficult because those are players that are going to suck it up and take the money to play in a minor league ballpark. Let's take a look at this. The most pressing need for the A's right now is starting pitching. Potential trade candidates for a starting pitcher that MLB Trade Rumors mentioned on their podcast was Marcus Stroman with the Yankees. The Yankees don't have a need for him. He's owed $37 million over the next 2 years, and I am sure they would not mind unloading that contract. Of course, a name we have talked about in the past, Jordan Montgomery of the Diamondbacks, owed $22.5 million next year. Relievers, Aroldis Chapman with the Pirates. Now, as MLB Trade Rumors said, Chapman is somewhat of a mercenary. He's going to go where the money's at. He doesn't care if he's playing in a minor league ballpark, in a big league ballpark, whatever it may be. But if he is only going to get a 1-year deal in the market right now, I think whatever that deal potentially could be, the A's could offer him 2 years and he would come to Sacramento and play. I think Chapman is a legitimate free agent that may sign with the A's. Potential trade option for a reliever that MLB Trade Rumors mentioned was Taijuan Walker from the Phillies, who is due $36 million over the next 2 years. I don't see the A's making any sort of move for Walker. $36 million over the next 2 years is hefty for a reliever when that is not the A's most pressing need. The other huge need for the A's right now is at third base. And we have talked about Candelario from the Reds as a potential possibility. Other than Candelario that we have talked about in the past is Alec Bohm of the Phillies. He's due $8.1 million in 2025. 2026 will be his last year of arbitration, and he becomes a unrestricted free agent in 2027. I think Bohm would be a perfect fit. The question is, what do the Phillies want in return? Brett Beatty from the Mets is somebody they mentioned as well. And again, someone I have talked about in the past, and we'll see what the price on Beatty is. I know Beatty is getting shopped quite a bit from the Mets. Now, to my top 5 most likely acquisitions the A's will get in the market today via trade or free agency. Number 5, Alec Bohm of the Phillies. For as much as I would like Bohm, he doesn't have a whole lot due next year and becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2027. Bohm has shown signs of brilliance, has had some off-field issues, but I still believe teams will go after him. And the Phillies do want to move Alec Bohm, but I believe they will ask for a hefty price for him. They're going to want some prospects. They're going to want some players, something the A's do not want to give up. Number 4, Marcus Stroman of the New York Yankees. He's owed $37 million over the next 2 years. That's not light. He's 36 years old. He's getting up there in age. The Yankees don't need him. They want to get rid of the contract. I don't think they're going to ask for a whole lot in return for an aging starting pitcher. Stroman reminds me a little bit of Bartolo Colon, not necessarily in the type of pitchers they were, but in a pitcher that had greatness that still has a little bit left to give. I like Stroman, and I hope that the A's are in talks with the Yankees to get Stroman. That would be a hell of an addition to our pitching staff. I would be very excited for Marcus Stroman. But are there other teams that see the value in Stroman that I do? Probably. And are they willing to give up more than the A's would potentially be willing to give up? Number 3, Aroldis Chapman. Chapman, as MLB trade rumors mentioned, is a straight up mercenary. He doesn't care where he goes. He wants to go for the longest amount of time and the most money. And I think the market right now on Chapman is 1 year. That's all he was going to be offered right now in the market, is a 1-year deal. I believe the A's will give him a multi-year deal, most likely 2. Chapman is a name. He's pitched in World Series. He's pitched on the biggest stage. Baseball fans know who he is. I think Chapman is a likely addition for the A's. Number 2, Candelario, Cincinnati Reds, third baseman. There is no question the Reds are looking to move him. He's owed $27 million for the next 2 years. The Reds want that contract off their books. The question is, what do they want in return? And are there any other teams out there who want Candelario? Because the bottom line is, Candelario is the type of player that will pick up his contract, thank you very much, but we're not going to give you anything in return. Are there MLB teams that are willing to give the Reds something? They're looking to move him, that's for sure. They want the most in return, and the A's don't have anything in return to give them. And number 1, who I believe will most likely be in an A's uniform next year, is Jordan Montgomery. He is owed $22.5 million. No one wants that contract. He's going to be a free agent after next year. This has A's written all over it. And hell, the Diamondbacks might even give us a prospect to take that contract. But I believe the most likely individual to be in an A's uniform next year is Jordan Montgomery, and think he will fit in perfectly for a young team that is getting better and better and better. He may be just the guy we need to anchor our staff. Speaking of our young team and our staff, let's go back in time a little bit and continue reviewing 2024 and the month of July. This time, the A's, in their first road trip in July, went to Boston to face the Red Sox. Up next. This episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and more with Game Time picks. I am looking to go to the San Francisco 49er game this Sunday when they face off against the Chicago Bears at Levi's Stadium. What I love about the Game Time experience is the all-in pricing feature, where it shows you the total upfront cost of your ticket with no surprise fees at checkout. It's the only ticketing app that gives me complete peace of mind. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I have already made a huge guarantee at the beginning of the show. And in order for the A's to fulfill that guarantee, I want to continue with our series looking back at the A's 2024 month of July, where they had the second best record in all of baseball, to see what worked and what did not work. To recap, the A's opened up July by sweeping the Anaheim Angels at home and losing 2 of 3 against the Orioles, making their record 4-2 for the month of July. Next up is the A's first road trip in the month, where they face a very hot Boston Red Sox team in a 3-game set that took place July 9th through July 11th. The A's faced the Red Sox in the second series of the year, where they were absolutely destroyed in Oakland, getting swept, which led to a 1-7 start for the A's to the season. The A's had Joey Estes starting on the bump, coming off a complete game shutout against the Angels. But the Red Sox were not the Angels, and this game was critical for Estes and for the A's starting pitching to show some type of consistency. The A's went with the same lineup they have been going with for a majority of the month, and the JJ Bleday leadoff experiment continued. Although Bleday led off the game, striking out, Andujar did single, Rooker doubled, driving in Andujar, and with 2 outs, Shea Langeliers drove in Rooker, giving the A's a very positive start to the road trip and a 2-0 lead going into the bottom half of the first. Unfortunately, the lead was brief, as the Red Sox absolutely rocked Joey Estes, as he lasted only 1 2/3 of an inning, giving up 7 hits, 8 runs, all earned. Tyler Ferguson came in to relieve Estes, and he was not much better, giving up 5 hits and 3 earned runs over a 2 2/3 stretch. The Red Sox scored 3 in the first and 8 runs in the second. Before you had time to settle in, this one was basically decided. The Red Sox were up 11-2 going into the third, and Estes' complete game shutout against the Angels now seemed like a distant memory. Strikeouts for the athletic hitters was again a theme, as they struck out 11 times through 4 innings. 11 of the first 12 outs recorded by the Red Sox were via K. The A's struck out 15 times for the game. 3-run homers by Lawrence Butler in the 6th and Zach Geloff in the 9th made the final score of 12-9 look respectable, but it was really never that close. Game 2 of the series had the ace of the A's staff going against Nick Pivetta. JP Sears versus Nick Pivetta of the Red Sox, who just owns the A's with an ERA in the ones. Lineup was the same with the exception of Tyler Nevin starting in place of Tyler Soderstrom, who was placed on the IL with a wrist contusion. Seth Brown got called up from AAA, where he just scorched AAA, hitting over 400 and hitting 7 bombs. JP Sears was in trouble from the onset, but got out of a bases-loaded jam in the first. It was scoreless going into the third, and that man again, Max Schumann, started it off with a 1-out single. Bleday continued his struggles from the leadoff spot and struck out. With 2 outs, Andujar singled, and then Pivetta got uncharacteristically wild, walking Rooker and Langoliers, which drove in the A's first run. The Law Dog got moved up to the number 5 hole in the order, and on his 25th birthday with 2 outs, hit a line drive double down the left field line, driving in Andujar and Rooker, giving the A's a 3-0 lead. Sears was brilliant, going 5 2/3, giving up 1 run on 4 hits while striking out 8. On top of that, he threw 114 pitchings. Sears is just a grinder, and this was a huge game for him and the A's as Sears established himself as the A's true ace. The A's added 2 more runs on a J.J. Bleday double in the 7th, driving in that man, Max Schumann, and a Shea Langolier single in the 7th, driving in Brett Rooker. Lucas Ursay and Mason Miller closed out the game, going the next 2 1/3 innings, giving up 2 hits and striking out 3 as the A's got a much-needed 5-2 win, tying the series at 1. Again, A's hitter strikeouts was an issue. There was a stretch from the 3rd inning to the 5th where Nick Pivetta struck out 8 straight A's hitters, and the A's struck out 11 times in total. But a win is a win. Going into Game 3 and the rubber match of the series, the A's had their work cut out for them, facing the ace of the Red Sox staff and American League All-Star Tanner Houck. The A's countered with the electric youngster Luis Medina, who was coming off a strong performance against the Angels. Medina found himself in trouble right off the bat. He walked Jarren Duran to lead off the game and allowed a double to David Hamilton to make it 2nd and 3rd with 0 outs. Medina fought back, striking out the most dangerous hitters in the Red Sox lineup in Tyler O'Neill and Rafael Devers. Walks got him again. He walked Connor Wong, and with 2 outs, Yoshida hit a base hit to right, scoring 2 runs. That hit really seemed to take the air out of Medina. Abreu then doubled and drove in Wong, making the score 3-0 at the end of 1. Medina settled down a bit, but allowed a solo homer to Wong in the 3rd and Abreu in the 4th, making the score 5-0, which was plenty for Tanner Houck, who was just dominant. Houck throws almost 50% breaking balls and was just filthy on the evening of July 10th. Houck threw 6 innings, no runs, 2 hits, struck out 6. The A's struck out 11 more times in Game 3. A common theme, a common problem, which brought their total to 37 Ks in a 3-game set, which is just not sustainable. The A's were shut out 7-0 in the rubber match of the 3-game set, and frustrating to say the least. And the theme stays the same: hitters striking out and consistency from the starting pitching. Bleday continued his struggles from the leadoff spot, going 1 of 13 in the series, striking out 6 times, which makes him 3 of 31 in the month of July. Lawrence Butler continued to swing a hot bat, going 4 for 12 with a double, home run, and 6 RBIs. The A's now travel to Philadelphia to face one of baseball's best teams in Bryce Harper and the Phillies, with a 5-4 record in the month of July. Not bad, not great. We will cover that series next week. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the off season. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow.